And welcome to this episode of Primility Primer. Primility Primer, of course, is our daily reminder about the power and impact of balancing our pride and our humility as we go about our daily lives. This is episode 12. I'm your host, Jared Morris. And I want to talk about today one of my favorite quotes. And that quote is "Be the change you wish to see in the world" by Gandhi. Now, I have to preface this conversation and this entire series, if this does become a series, because I think it might, with the fact that Gandhi may never have actually said that specific quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." That may have been kind of the condensed quote that came from a larger quote that Gandhi did say. And I'll link in the show notes, primility.com/show/012, to an article in the New York Times that talks about this. But he did say something very similar. That is documented. And so let me read that quote, which is that if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others do. So whether Gandhi actually said the shorter quote or not, as you can see, he certainly said something that has the same essence as that quote. And so the oft uttered quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," is a distillation of something that is documented that Gandhi said. And I believe that one of the most impactful, one of the most important occurrences in my life was taking those words to heart. Because when you really take those words to heart, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," and not waiting for others to act, what happens is that you become empowered to actually execute change in the world without waiting around for other people to act. And that was very powerful for me, because what it does is, instead of sitting around and making excuses or complaining, you really start to view situations through the prism of, okay, what can I do to improve this? And that's a really powerful feeling when you see something, or there's an injustice, or there's a problem, or whatever it is, or even just something at work that frustrates you. When you think about it first from the perspective of, what can I do to change this, instead of, what does this person need to do? Or, man, I wish this person would do this, or waiting around for somebody else. Now you have power. You are not powerless. And I'm not talking about the bad kind of power that you wield to take advantage of people, but the power to say, you know what, I can take an action right now that can improve this. And I've noticed this thought process having an impact in a lot of different areas of my life. One of them that's very recent, that I'll just use as an illustration, has to deal with water and my usage of water. And one thing, since Heather and I have been living together now for, well over a year and a half, one thing that she has pointed out to me is that I can be somewhat wasteful. And I never realized this, how wasteful I could be with water. Leaving the water on while I'm brushing my teeth, or getting a glass of water, only drinking half of it and dumping it out. There were so many little ways throughout the day that I would waste water, and I just didn't even think about it. So it's not like I was saying, oh, I could save this water, or I could turn this water off while I brush my teeth. It just never dawned on me. I just never had that thought process. Well, maybe you've had this experience too, but over the past year or two, I would say, and maybe even longer than that, I've been encountering so many stories on the news, on podcasts, and articles online about water and global problems with water, water shortages, and how future wars will be fought over access to drinking water. I mean, when you start to dig into the topic, it gets really kind of scary and kind of intimidating. And as that's happened, I've started to think to myself, okay, so what could I really do about this? And a couple of days ago, actually, I was just scrolling through my Instagram account and saw one from Nat Geo, which had a picture of a woman who has to walk several miles every day just to get a bucket of water to be able to use for that day. And here I am going, getting a glass of water, not finishing it, and just dumping it out. And I started to think, okay, is there anything that I can do in my daily life right now, some change I can make that gets more water to her? Well, no, there really isn't. And yet, does that mean that I should not act, that there's nothing I can do for this entire situation with water that the experts are saying that we face globally? And even just on a human level, when you see, we know how important water is. And when we see other people struggling to find it, suffering because they don't have it, how can we then feel okay just using it so gratuitously and not valuing it in the slightest? Because that's what I was doing, is not valuing it in the slightest. And so I resolved to try and just be better about it, to just not waste water. It's not like I'm going to not have it and try and make myself suffer, but just don't waste it. Respect the resource. Don't waste it. Respect the role, the overall role in humanity that I play, to not use this resource gratuitously. And whenever I've done that, it's helped me to see my role in the world differently, right? Because I know on a logical level that the changes that I make when it comes to water are not going to solve any type of global water crisis. And yet doing nothing doesn't do anything either. It just allows me to sit back, look at a problem, and feel powerless to it. And that is humility gone way too far. Meekness, having such a low opinion of ourselves that we don't even think that we can have an impact. And I don't believe that that's the right way to look at it. I do believe that my actions matter and that my impact can matter. And just the simple act of doing the right thing can have a ripple effect throughout the world. So instead of saying, well, the people in California shouldn't be routing water from the Colorado River for their crops, or this person shouldn't be doing this, that, or the other. How about look at myself first, look internally and say, okay, there's this issue with water. What could I do today to make it just the teeny, most infinitesimally small amount better? Because maybe by doing that, I set an example for someone else and they will see it and do something a little better and do something a little better. And maybe their example will inspire a child who will someday grow up and develop some new technology that gets water to all of the people in Africa who don't have it. I don't know. All I know is that there is a compounding effect and an exponentially compounding effect of simply doing the right thing. And instead of waiting for someone else to do the right thing, doing it ourselves and leading by example rather than sitting, judging, hoping that other people do. So I apologize if my explanation on this was a little bit meandering. This is an idea that I want to continue to flesh out as we go through more of these episodes of Primility Primer, this idea of being the change, of stepping up instead of waiting for someone else to change or do something differently, doing it ourselves, leading by example, respecting our potential impact on the world, respecting the example simply that our actions can have, not just on ourselves as we move forward, but on others who may see it and follow it and use it as inspiration to make better choices themselves. To me, that's what be the change you wish to see in the world is. And it's just one of those mindset things, one of those mentalities that I cherish because I know how big of an impact it's had on my life and just my feeling of empowerment as a human in this world to make a positive impact. And I think when we feel like that, it helps give our days meaning, give our actions meaning. And that's very, very important for whatever we're going to do. So a lot more to talk about this. This will be a topic that we talk about in the future. If you have thoughts on it, I would love to hear from you. You can tweet me at Jared Morris, email me, jared@primility.com, post a comment in the show notes or on YouTube. Again, the show notes are at primility.com/show/012. And I will say, I know that keeping up with the daily show 5 days a week is difficult. I know that. I appreciate those of you who are trying, who are, even those of you who just pop in for an episode now and then. If you do want to keep track with a little bit less effort, you can go to primility.com/join, and we do a Friday digest where Friday at 9 or 10 o'clock, an email gets sent to your inbox that runs down the 5 Primility Primer episodes of the week. So instead of checking in every day, you can check in on Friday and then see if any of those episodes, if the headlines, if the topics capture you, if you want to listen to them, then you can listen to them on Friday. Again, that is primility.com/join. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in to this episode of Primility Primer. I will be back, as always, tomorrow, Thursday, 6:30 Central Time for episode 13. In the meantime, do your best to balance your pride and humility, and we will talk tomorrow. Wrist bump.